What's going on, guys? Gary with Ras Group back in another video. So let's talk like rifle / carbine setup configurations and some things you should probably think about. We're not going to be really doing a full review of this gun. This is my current main squeeze, my Material 14.5. But we're going to kind of talk about like some things I look at when I'm building a rifle, and you know, what I think you should look for too. I'm not going to be going super in depth. That's what the blog post is for over on our website, rasgrouptraining.com. So check that out if you please. But there's a lot of people making a lot of purchases, building a lot of guns, doing a lot of things that, you know, their inspiration of which doesn't really line up with like what their needs are compared to the cool guy that posted a video of his rifle talking about what his needs were. So this is something I talk about pretty often. I'm going to run through some things that I think you should think about, and you know, if this works for you, great. If not, you know, appreciate you giving the video a view. So first and foremost, build a rifle or buy a rifle. I think my favorite is a hybrid of both. I'm a big fan of buying a already set to go complete upper, not even necessarily complete, but assembled, right? Like my gas system's installed for me by a professional that has means to better equipment and better knowledge than I do. Lower is pretty easy. I think you can get away with buying like a dirt cheap lower, putting some mid to quality internals inside of it, and it'll be just fine. There's a lot of ways to improve lockup between an upper and lower receiver, stuff like that, Aggie wedges, coatings. I've seen people use electrical tape to get a better lockup, but it really depends, right? If you have no concept of how to build a gun and you don't plan to allocate the time and resources to be able to, you know, build a gun properly, I would say probably, you know, buy a complete rifle off the shelf somewhere and be good to go. If you're somebody that has some preferences and you know what you like and you know enough to, you know, install some of your own parts, get you by, things like that, by all means, go ahead and build. And there's pros and cons to both building. You can kind of do it, you know, an upper and then the lower, or lower then upper. You don't have to buy the whole thing at once. It doesn't tie up all your money right at one time. But the margin for error is quite a bit higher in my opinion, just based on the fact that you probably don't have the same setup that a major manufacturer does. You know, and nothing against you, it just is what it is. They have teams of people that go over and QC, or should, their products, and you just got you. So that being said, this is kind of, I did a hybrid with mine. This is, like I said, Modern Material 14.5. The upper is complete for ModMat. It's their 14.5 M-LOK upper with their bolt carrier group, their charging handle. This is a Gen, like a Gen 2, I would say, or an older Gen upper, because the newer ones have the Radiant Raptors. This doesn't. It's just a mil-spec charging handle, which I don't use the charging handle that much, so I don't really care. The lower is a strip ModMat lower that I put all my own internals into. Magpul grip in stock, velocity triggers, flat-faced single-stage trigger, their mag release, a generic safety selector, Magpul bad lever. I have the HRF Concepts magwell on here. But again, lowers are pretty easy, especially on the AR platform. So I did a hybrid. I bought the upper complete. I built the lower out a little bit. And this is what I've been running. This is what I'm happy with. Another big consideration to look at is like caliber selection. I tell everybody, for your first rifle, like your first combat driven or defensive driven rifle, 5.56, 223, like, I mean, it's the most common caliber for that platform for a reason. I would say start there, just because it's an easily sourced piece of, you know, easily sourced, sorry guys, it's cold. Easily sourced resource if you need one. Obviously ammo shortages, stuff like that happen, but more often than not, you can find 5.56 in stock somewhere. Plus, it's been used by the U.S. government for such a long time because of its ability to do its job. I know there's, you know, Gucci or calibers coming out. I believe it's the 6.8 or the 6 ARC or whatever. I don't really know anything about that, I'm gonna be honest. So I just stick with 5.56 for my base platform. Barrel length is also gonna be dependent upon like what you need and what you do. I live in an area that's kind of rural. I have a lot of like wide open areas around me. So I opted for a 14.5. I think 13.7 to 16 inches is a great kind of intermediate range or intermediate length of barrel to kind of do everything you need it to do. Everybody bitches about 14.5, 16 inch when you add a can. Kind of long, the rule of thumb I was always taught is the longer the barrel, the shorter of a can you can get away from. Where, you know, if I was running, let's use Dead Air as an example, a 10.3, 10.5, I'm probably going to opt for a Sandman L because it's a longer suppressor and I want to try to maximize the suppression. Whereas a 14.5, 16 inch, I can probably get away with a Sandman K. I have a Sandman S, and I just have to swap out the muzzle device so I can run it on this gun. But I've been running in a couple others and it's great. Like, I don't know, it's a can. It does everything I hoped it would have done. So that's a big deal. Those two topics, put some thought into that. I mean, then there's the three basic requirements of a defensive or offensive driven carbine, which is your primary sighting system, a weapon light source, in a sling. After that, I would say probably a secondary sighting system, like backup irons, a laser, whatever your fancy is. And, you know, there's just so much that goes into this that I encourage you guys to really think about this and really figure out what you need, because that's the point of this video. I could give 1,000 examples. So, all right, I'm gonna stop giving examples. But you could look at anything and you could actually put some thought into that decision. You could go into that much about a buffer retainer pin, a buffer tube, a buttstock, buffer spring. There's so many options, and everything kind of, you know, has its role, has its purpose based on, you know, whether it be quality, economic friendly, availability, whatever. But you have to make those decisions for you. Don't base it off of what everybody else on the internet is telling you to do. That seems to be a problem anymore. I know, especially with handguns. What I run is my kind of customized G45. And the reality is, this works for me. It probably isn't going to work for everybody. A lot of people don't like enclosed emitters. A lot of people don't like Glock. A lot of people don't like stippling. A lot of people don't like comps. Really, you know, it's everybody's preference, but you need to figure that out. You need to ask yourself, you need to try things. Don't just go out there and spend money because somebody else who had a cooler job than what you do now is telling you that's what you should do. Because I've been around this industry for a little bit now. I now own a business in the industry. I meet a lot of people inside of this industry, and I can 100% tell you, if somebody's shoving something down your throat, I would say 8 out of 10 times, because it's not everybody, but 8 out of 10 times, it's because they are getting either something for free that they wanted, whether they like it or not at the end. They wanted to try it, and they didn't want to spend their own money to do it. Or they're getting the free product plus a payment to talk about it, because whether a review is good or bad, it spreads the word about their product. It gets people curious. It's not so much that somebody does a bad review and nobody buys that product anymore. Someone does a bad review and everybody's like, well, I want to see for myself, right? It's part of the game, guys. There is no such thing as bad publicity, especially when you have, you know, million subscriber channels talking about your product. It's just, it doesn't work like that. So 100%, guys, there are some good review channels. There's some good guys out here trying to do the right thing. There's a lot of guys that, you know, can't be bought and paid for. But unfortunately, most of them are. It is what it is. And they make a living doing it, so I can't fault them for that. But you really need to stop and think and say, okay, do I really need this or that? Do I even like this or that? Do I know if I'm going to like this or that, right? There's a lot that goes into that. So that's the point of this video, guys. I'll be doing a breakdown of this rifle in the future, but the blog post goes a lot more in depth. I want to get this message out here because I feel like more people watch the YouTube than anything else. So, but I appreciate it, guys. Until next time, stay safe, stay trained, stay rad. I'll be back in the next one.